staff was
Bob's
asked
the director of Parks and Recreation for the county.
He's the boss.
My staff was asked to come up and do the job rather than going back to the contractor, back to the board to do a change order because of cost. We have tree crews already on staff. Why not use them rather than come in and get a change order from a contractor? You're familiar with change orders, you know what happens, cost goes up. So we said, sure, we'll do that. That was after the arborist report was done, the whole thing, all about. I did ask my staff, because of the issue of the woodpeckers that came up on that Saturday. I think I even got the call from Ann, Declan, Christy called me Saturday as well. I asked every one of them to provide a written statement, whether or not they were nests or woodpeckers. Every one of them said they saw no indication of nests. They did see indication of woodpeckers flying to the trees and putting the, what is it, the acorns in the tree. They did indicate that, yes.
My name's Tracy Schroeder.
Yes.
We were there Saturday morning. There were many birds flying around that tree the whole time they were out there cutting that tree down. Whether there was a nest or wasn't a nest, I believe there was, but regardless, there was baby woodpeckers flying all around that tree. That specific tree, the big one, the older one. How could there have not been a nest there? And if you're hiring people to do the job, maybe you should hire somebody that knows what the hell they're doing, because obviously these people had no idea. And I'd like to say also that for us up here in this area, our supervisor made it quite clear at the last meeting he had on housing project down by the freeway that he flat out told us most of us up here live below the poverty level. And he made it very clear in his attitude and the way he spoke to us that he does not like us and he doesn't care about us and he isn't going to do anything to help us. So there's no point in going to him.
Yes,
he needs to just go away.
Absolutely.
Because he was rude and ugly and he made a good point of making sure we do. He doesn't like us and he really pointed out how much he doesn't like Pine Mountain Club.
Protection of the trees, but the Migratory Bird Treaty Act protects nesting, all birds actually, but the acorn bird is particularly protected during their nesting season. That includes their cache. Now, I've got video that shows 10s, 20s of birds continuously landing, even though there was a man with a chainsaw. Every time he turned that thing off, they were right there, looking all over the place for their nest, looking for their cache. Now their cache is hundreds of thousands of acorns that have been collected. The tree that we have been discussing that you say is bad, that's what the trees do. They're not bad. They have a lot of living xylem and phloem going up and down supporting them. The inside is something that developed as a place for all of the animals, you know, birds, animals, lichen, bacteria that drops to the ground and makes nitrogen, puts nitrogen in the soil. It's a whole ecosystem. That whole tree is an entire city. And so it doesn't have to have like a total solid area inside it for it to be a good solid tree. It's the way oaks are. So two things, and I think he mentioned it before, that the arborist who comes to take care of the other trees, I beg you, please don't start cutting them down just because some of the inside looks like it's rotten. Because it's a specific kind of tree. The one that we're talking about, we're saying, isn't good, actually was a really good sound tree. You know, it could have stood, I think someone else mentioned, it could have stood like that for another 100 or 200 years, long after we're done and gone. I know that it was more than 36 or 40 inches wide. That thing probably
60,
had,
60
I'm like just over 5. I think that's this. It was bigger than that. I would say it's probably a 10-foot tree. So the Migratory Bird Treaty Act is in force, and that's a federal law protecting these trees while it's nesting season. It doesn't mean only the nest. It means the cache, and because Lynn Stafford works for the EPA, I'm pretty sure he knows what he's talking about, that there's a negative impact on all of the nests that surround the area, whether it's in that tree or not. Now, I doubt that that tree existed without nests in it. But let's just say I believe you, or believe you guys, I have to, although there are things that you're saying now that makes me wonder, because I was there looking. But let's just say it might be true. Maybe there was not one nest in it, therefore it wasn't protected. The cache of food that it held, and that we have proof of, makes it protected under the Migratory Bird Treaty Act. And if you want that, then you can get it to you.
And again, just to respond to that, my guys told me there was no issue with what I'm hearing here today. They saw what that was, no question. They saw the acorns in the tree, no question.
You know, we're the ones arrived and said, look at the birds. That's when they look. They'd already cut the nest down.
I'm just trying to answer the question.
The fact, what I'm telling you, just so you know, and then you can deal with your guys and the legal ramifications of what's happened, is that it also covers the cash.
Michelle, I need to cut you off. You've had your 3 minutes, please. We need to move on. We're getting down the hour where the board's going to have to do some discussion. We have a couple of last questions.
I
we
just
want
make
to cover.
one more further comment. I have no issue working with the planning department to try to bring forward an ordinance specific to oak trees. Lorelei mentioned that the Ashby would like to see the same thing. I have no problem doing that whatsoever. We will work at doing that.
I think this board would
A
support.
couple quick points. This is a public works project, right? So that means prevailing wage is paid on this. And when a plumber, you have to have a licensed plumber to do that. They're not even qualified to take down that tree, okay? That should be brought to the forefront. They're a construction company, okay? And were they paid prevailing wage on that, or was it a sealed bid?
No.
County
Let me explain a little bit how that worked. I explained it once before, and I can tell it got missed. General Services came to our department and said, we've got an issue with a couple trees on site at this Fraser Park Library. We can go back and do a change order and have the contractor give us a price to remove those 2 trees. You guys have tree crews that work at pruning and removing trees. There's no cost into the project. If you guys do it, there will be a cost to the project if the contractor does it.
But let me just add to that. It wasn't just cost. It would be going back to the very people who hit the 3 roots on the small one. Why would I want them doing any more to trees? So at least Bob's crews understood trees, and had the crews that are a lot more knowledgeable than the contractor who's got me sitting here tonight on the younger tree. I wasn't going to do a change order. It wasn't just the issues of money. It's the very people who didn't let me know until they hit the 3 roots. I don't need any more surprises, so we asked Bob to.
So basically, our taxpayers are still paying just out of a different pot to have the work done.
Yeah, our folks are going to be doing work anyway. We have our tree crews out down.
Let me make one last suggestion. Bring your crew up here and tune up our trees up here.
Yeah, let me
okay?
finish.
All the rest of the trees in this park have not been worked on for 20 and 30 years.
And let me explain again. Our tree crews have been up here. I can tell you, we had a oak tree removed right behind this building by our tree crews.
Look out the window and look at the condition of our trees.
What I'm telling you
Mark,
is-
I'm going to have to, excuse me, Bob.
I'd be happy to talk to you, but to make a statement that we haven't been up here in 20 years is totally inaccurate.
Okay, Mark, like I said, I want to go back to one question that I have in regard to this. I know that there are no clear ordinances in regards to this, but what are the possibilities of your people getting together, reviewing what exists in LA County? I know that there are no tree fences required here, but there are some potential impacts with construction of existing things. I'm just wondering whether or not you guys would be willing to put something together, come back to this organization, to MCMAC next month with a plan of how you're going to protect these things up here.
I can tell you whether you have cameras rolling in it, which is fine with me. This project has still got to be done and finished and done right. And obviously, the arborist study that we've now seen